During the mid-1990s, an Atlanta morning television program borrowed jewelry worth more than $1 million. When the show ended, the precious stones had vanished, substituted with flawless replicas. All documentation appeared accurate, signatures were verified, and detectives had no leads. The investigation stalled, archived as unresolved, and for years appeared impossible to crack. However, in 1998, while conducting a standard inventory review, one small discrepancy in the station's records destroyed the facade of an impeccable crime and revealed the concealed path behind one of Atlanta's most expensive thefts. Atlanta, April 1994. The morning transmission of Atlanta Morning was organizing a distinctive segment intended to capture viewers' interest throughout the metropolitan area. The production team desired to present opulence to establish an atmosphere of sophistication and refinement for the program. To accomplish this goal, the station secured a selection of premium jewelry for on-set presentation: necklaces, rings, and bracelets, with a combined worth of $1,400,000. The precious items had been provided by a leasing firm under rigorous contractual conditions. The arrangement was straightforward. Merchandise would be transported to the station, utilized exclusively during the live transmission, and returned promptly following production completion. Oversight of the collection was assigned to the associate producer, who oversaw coordination, documentation, and protection for valuable props. Each movement of the items was recorded, signed documentation, identification codes, and comprehensive records existed to guarantee nothing could disappear. This documentation system was structured to prevent confusion, and theoretically, the method seemed perfect. The transmission proceeded flawlessly. Beneath intense studio illumination, the jewelry sparkled on fabric displays strategically arranged for the recording equipment. Home audiences observed brilliant gemstones, oblivious to the substantial liability behind the presentation. Before we continue further, share in the comments your viewing location. We would appreciate hearing from you. Also remember to press that subscribe button to stay updated on our future content. Station personnel handled the items with professional competence, transferring them among presentation surfaces and rear storage spaces throughout the segment. After recording ceased, the associate producer collected the merchandise, secured them in containers, and prepared them for transport. Based on the documentation, the procedure allowed no room for mistakes. The secured containers were sent to the leasing firm, along with a receipt that was authenticated and time-stamped. Records indicated all merchandise present, corresponding to the initial delivery inventory. The exchange seemed standard. Several weeks afterward, the deception crumbled. The leasing firm conducted a thorough examination before readying the merchandise for their subsequent customer. The assessment uncovered something disturbing. The items were not genuine. They were exceptionally persuasive copies, expertly manufactured, yet counterfeit. The revelation indicated that authentic jewelry exceeding $1 million in value had been taken. The Atlanta Police Department immediately launched an official inquiry. Considering the magnitude of the crime, the incident attracted considerable public interest. Publications characterized the offense as audacious and calculated, executed without apparent evidence of interference. Investigators started examining potential explanations. One hypothesis suggested the replacement occurred at the firm's storage location prior to delivery. Another theory involved mismanagement by the courier organization handling transit. A third and more concerning possibility indicated the crime transpired inside the station premises. Detectives questioned all personnel associated with the transmission. The associate producer verified that the jewelry arrived secured, was removed for the program, and subsequently repacked under his direct observation. Technical crew and production staff reported observing nothing suspicious. Based on their accounts, the transmission proceeded typically and the retrieval happened without complications. Every employee provided matching testimonies. The documentation supported their assertions. The receipt displayed the associate producer's authentication. The timestamp corresponded to the transmission date, and the identification codes aligned with station archives. From a record-keeping standpoint, the jewelry had been obtained and retrieved without problems. The documentation rendered the offense undetectable. The lack of physical proof left investigators frustrated. No monitoring equipment existed in the rear storage sections, and no independent observers witnessed the container handling. Without video surveillance or documentation inconsistencies, the inquiry reached an impasse. Speculation circulated internally, yet nothing could be verified. No unexpected fingerprints, no absent packaging, no tangible indicators to identify the shift from genuine jewelry to imitations. Despite demands from the leasing firm and press attention emphasizing the crime's scope, the inquiry yielded no detentions. Following months of questioning, document examination, and fruitless directions, the incident file was consigned to storage with the designation unresolved. The perpetrators had implemented their strategy with such exactness that it rendered investigators helpless. Before 1994 concluded, the occurrence had joined the metropolitan area's unresolved incidents. The station resumed its broadcasting. The leasing firm enhanced its protection measures, and authorities directed their focus toward recent offenses. Yet underneath, one outstanding matter persisted. All documentation seemed impeccable. Nevertheless, concealed within that record-keeping existed the vulnerability that subsequently would reveal the complete operation. During autumn 1998, the Atlanta broadcast station responsible for Atlanta Morning experienced a major organizational shift. Administration had sanctioned implementing a modernized inventory management platform designed to revolutionize how equipment, wardrobe, and expensive merchandise were monitored. The initiative demanded complete conversion of historical archives. All agreements, documentation, and receipts required scanning, authentication, and database integration. For many workers, the assignment was tedious, a gradual procedure of organizing documents and verifying them against electronic parameters. Nevertheless, within this tedium existed the catalyst that would resurrect a forgotten incident. Processing historical archives became the duty of the inventory specialist, Denise Rivera. Her responsibility involved verifying each physical document against the modernized electronic structure, confirming that information, including timestamps, identification numbers, and codes, satisfied the platform's specifications. It constituted demanding labor, requiring diligence and concentration. During late September, she accessed the storage for 1994, a period long elapsed, yet still preserved meticulously in the station's archive space. Within the documents awaiting processing existed materials connected to the April 1994 transmission featuring premium jewelry. Initially, the record-keeping seemed unremarkable. The receipt displayed the appropriate timestamp, April 1994, and contained the authentication of the associate producer overseeing the jewelry. The documented merchandise corresponded to the delivery documentation. All aspects seemed compatible with the leasing contract specifications. However, while Rivera examined the receipt against the structural requirements of the modernized platform, her attention identified something peculiar. The form displayed an identification marker and code arrangement belonging to a classification introduced subsequently. Institutional archives demonstrated the station had not implemented that code series until November 1994. The existence of these components on documentation, time-stamped April, indicated something was profoundly incorrect. Rivera had processed countless documents throughout the conversion procedure and understood the sequence of the classification protocols. This represented no typographical mistake and couldn't be rationalized by administrative oversight. Her initial assumption suggested the irregularity originated from the information conversion process, potentially a mistake in the digitization or electronic input. For certainty, she accessed the physical storage and retrieved the original. Examining the actual receipt, she verified what the digital version had previously indicated. The April 1994 form displayed characteristics that absolutely did not exist until subsequent months that year. This finding necessitated a fresh viewpoint. The record-keeping, previously regarded as the conclusive authority in the inquiry, was inauthentic. The irregularity signified the document had been generated or modified months following the purported retrieval date. For an incident long considered impossible to resolve, this constituted the initial indication of intentional manipulation. Rivera compiled a comprehensive internal report documenting the precise inconsistency in timestamps, codes, and structure. She outlined the classification system chronology and clarified why the April form could not have legitimately contained these components. The communication was forwarded to the Station Protection Department. Protection personnel assessed the findings and acknowledged the significance of the irregularity. If the record-keeping had been manipulated, the 1994 crime was not merely an audacious replacement, but additionally an offense sustained by intentional concealment. The situation could not remain contained within the station. The Protection Department conveyed the discoveries immediately to authorities. For detectives, the revelation constituted a critical juncture. A crime previously concealed behind perfect record-keeping now possessed a detectable weakness in its structure. The modification of that individual receipt indicated the existence of an internal participant with both opportunity and incentive to shield the perpetrators. Following years after the vanishing of jewelry valued at $1.4 million, the incident was no longer inactive. The irregularity recorded by Rivera revitalized the documentation. Initially, detectives possessed a concrete anomaly that couldn't be dismissed as mistake or happenstance. It suggested deliberate tampering and implied greater participation within the station. The 1994 crime had been regarded as a flawless offense. Nevertheless, presently, the flawlessness revealed its weakness, one element sufficiently compelling to resurrect the complete inquiry. The 1998 revelation that the receipt had been manipulated positioned the incident again with the Atlanta Police Department. The documentation, long inactive, was resurrected and delegated to Inspector Marcus Bryant of the Asset Crimes Unit. Bryant was recognized for his systematic methodology, constructing cases not via conjecture, yet through authenticated proof. His initial objective was examining the form that had prompted the inquiry's resumption. The initial receipt, time-stamped April 1994, was delivered to the governmental forensic facility for thorough evaluation. Technicians applied it to detailed examination and substance analysis. The findings were definitive. The material composition did not correspond to the supplies utilized by the station during early 1994, yet aligned with inventory acquired subsequently that year. The pigment substances applied on the form additionally matched those created and circulated during autumn 1994. The evaluation verified the receipt could not have been generated at the period specified by its timestamp. Forensic form specialists performed a typographical investigation. The typefaces and structure of the receipt exhibited characteristics implemented exclusively after the station adopted a modernized format platform. The character positioning and classification design matched the subsequent series. Collectively, the proof established the receipt was tangibly generated months following its supposed authentication. What had previously seemed a perfect record-keeping item was actually a deliberate falsification. Bryant subsequently examined the station's institutional archives. Maintenance records documented the deployment of new printing equipment during late 1994. Among these devices, obtained in October, was determined as the precise model employed to generate the modified receipt. The device's position was documented as the workspace of associate producer Vincent Reed. This information connected the manipulated form immediately to the area of the person whose authentication it displayed. Entry monitoring records supplied the subsequent element of the investigation. The station's digital access platform had documented activities within the facility on the night of the alleged retrieval. Based on these archives, Reed had accessed his workspace following the standard business conclusion. His attendance was registered at a period when many personnel had previously left. No additional workers were documented in that particular hallway during the identical time frame, rendering his presence noteworthy. Together with the entry archives, detectives examined institutional communication information. The internal telephone network recorded brief immediate communications made from Reed's workspace to the equipment storage location on the identical night. The length of these communications was brief, yet their occurrence aligned precisely with his documented workspace entry. The alignment of these information indicated beyond happenstance. Following this phase, Bryant possessed a collection of discoveries that linked multiple elements. The challenged receipt had been generated on equipment deployed months following its indicated timestamp. That equipment was designated to Reed's workspace. The substance analysis of material and pigment connected the receipt to the subsequent time frame. The entry records verified his attendance in the workspace at the appropriate period. The communication information positioned him in contact with the storage section on that identical night. The accumulated significance of these revelations displayed a reliable sequence. The form was a falsification. It came from Reed's workspace, and his activities and communications corresponded with the time frame when the falsification must have been generated. These constituted not speculations, yet tangible connections, each validated by records, facility findings, and institutional documentation. Nevertheless, Bryant understood the manipulated record-keeping constituted merely one component of the offense. The falsified receipt obscured the crime, yet it did not clarify how the genuine jewelry had been substituted with persuasive copies. The matter of who implemented the tangible replacement on the transmission date remained unaddressed. The inquiry had achieved the stage where the concealment was revealed, yet the actual perpetrators of the crime remained unidentified. During October 1998, the inquiry had advanced adequately for a magistrate to sanction examining Vincent Reed's workspace. Investigators accessed the station after operating hours, accessing storage units and methodically securing containers of materials and digital media for assessment. Within the confiscated content were manual annotations, management documents, and a set of storage disks containing preliminary versions of documents utilized by the production personnel. Within these disks and directories, detectives discovered a vital proof item, a preliminary format of the receipt with an automated timestamp parameter. Forensic technicians assessed the electronic document and physical specimen. Both were associated with October 1994. The finding corresponded with previous discoveries that the initial receipt had been generated months following its supposed existence. Significantly, the preliminary displayed structure and markers matching the conclusive manipulated form. This association confirmed the receipt had not merely been manipulated, yet had been constructed immediately from Reed's workspace, utilizing his apparatus and his accessibility. Specialists subsequently contrasted the output from the preliminary with the challenged receipt. Through enhancement, professionals detected unique micro-patterns and subtle marks specific to an individual printer. These imperfections aligned throughout both forms. It constituted the forensic comparison of an identification mark, indication remaining not manually, yet by the apparatus's mechanical irregularities. The determination was certain Reed had generated the manipulated record-keeping. With the concealment now associated with an identified person, detectives expanded their concentration. They started re-evaluating the monetary behavior of personnel associated with the 1994 transmission. Financial documentation, transportation archives, and asset registrations supplied a sequence of transactions. Two identities promptly surfaced as irregularities. During early 1995, specialist Derek Thompson acquired a pre-owned Cadillac Seville. The purchase was remarkable. His compensation at the station had been moderate, adequate for fundamental costs, yet not for the category of extravagance that possessing such transportation suggested. 12 months subsequently, in 1996, another irregularity surfaced. Jasmine Carter, who had similarly been employed on the program, provided the initial investment on a residence in a residential district beyond Atlanta again. Her earnings did not justify such an acquisition. When detectives compared the monetary histories of the two workers, an extra connection became apparent. In 1996, Thompson and Carter were officially married. During the crime's occurrence, their association had been hidden from associates. Inside the station setting, they had seemed as separate colleagues. The marriage documentation, integrated with proof of combined assets and reciprocal monetary obligations, confirmed they were not exclusively associated occupationally, yet were companions in personal existence as well. Focus subsequently returned to activity within the station. On the transmission date, documentation from the digital entry monitoring platform indicated Thompson had been authorized comprehensive access privileges to the equipment storage section. His attendance in that limited area was documented throughout the organization of the jewelry presentations. Carter's authorizations were similarly documented throughout the identical time frame, positioning her near the expensive merchandise. These information connected both persons immediately to the jewelry on the date it was presented during live transmission. When detectives compared these records with the night of the retrieval, another sequence surfaced. Neither Thompson nor Carter accessed the facility that evening. Conversely, Reed had accessed his workspace following operating periods compatible with the manipulated record-keeping sequence. The integration of attendances and omissions illustrated a complex representation. Two workers attending when the jewelry could have been exchanged, and another supplying protection following the occurrence via manipulated documentation. Before late 1998, the inquiry had achieved a vital transition. The falsification was associated with Reed. The monetary irregularities indicated Thompson and Carter, and the entry records positioned them completely in circumstances of possibility. It constituted the initial occasion the elements aligned into a rational framework. Nevertheless, one crucial component of the investigation remained absent. The proof confirmed that jewelry had been replaced and record-keeping had been manipulated, yet the process of how the taken stones were converted into monetary advantage had not yet been revealed. For detectives, this unanswered information became the primary concentration, confirming the association between control of the taken gemstones and the unexpected enhancement in the accused individual's circumstances would convert a persuasive hypothesis into an undeniable incident. The sequence of manipulated forms, questionable acquisitions, and hidden associations indicated one trajectory, yet the authentic solution to the offense still remained in the unexplored route of how the stones departed the station and accessed distribution. Until that conclusive connection could be established, the incident was substantial, yet not finished, and the pursuit for that verification became the subsequent phase of the inquiry. Before 1998 concluded, detectives directed their concentration to the comprehensive activities of the accused individuals. Developing from the monetary irregularities previously revealed, they started reviewing transit archives. Transportation documentation, payment charges, and financial transactions illustrated a reliable representation. During 1995 and 1996, Derek Thompson and Jasmine Carter made continuous journeys to metropolitan areas beyond Georgia. Two locations surfaced most regularly: Chicago and Houston. The transit was not sporadic yet consistent, with transportation arranged weeks separated. Documentation verified both persons reserved transportation in their identities, occasionally jointly, occasionally within days of one another. Costs associated with accommodations, dining, and vehicle services supported the sequence of intentional continuous travels. For investigators, the selection of locations possessed particular importance. Both Chicago and Houston were recognized centers for alternative jewelry commerce and systems of resale establishments where undocumented gemstones could be transferred quietly. The inquiry squad requested cooperation from enforcement divisions in these metropolitan areas. Information from Chicago disclosed that during the mid-1990s, officials there had observed the distribution of unattached gemstones without authenticated source. Exchanges were frequently minimal, featuring stones extracted from more substantial items, and were circulated throughout various resale locations. To prevent identification, Houston presented comparable behavior, with separate confiscations of jewelry lacking authentication. During that period, these incidents had not been associated with Atlanta. Yet, with the updated sequence of Thompson and Carter's transit, the connection became challenging to disregard. During early 1998, throughout an enforcement action on a suspected handler of taken assets in Chicago, authorities obtained multiple gemstones. They were preserved in containers with manual markings, yet no authentic documentation. The Atlanta detectives organized for facility analysis. Through enhancement, small engravings and identification indicators recognized the stones as components of the set taken from the station transmission in April 1994. The verification was critical. It indicated that minimally a portion of the taken jewelry had journeyed from Atlanta into the Chicago commerce and had been converted via resale systems. This discovery supplied the absent connection detectives had been pursuing. The taken gemstones were no longer hypothetical. Their tangible existence, aligned to the initial set via exact identifications, demonstrated how Thompson and Carter had transformed them into monetary advantage. The sequence corresponded with the unexpected acquisitions they had completed in Atlanta, the Cadillac Seville and the residential property, both surfacing within 2 years of the crime. With this proof obtained, investigators compiled a complete restoration of occurrences. The progression commenced in April 1994. On the transmission date of Atlanta morning, Thompson and Carter, both operating near the jewelry, obtained accessibility to the equipment storage section. Digital entry records verified their attendance at the vital preparation moments. It was there the genuine jewelry were extracted and substituted with the copies organized beforehand. The replacement was finished prior to the merchandise being presented, before recording equipment, guaranteeing no observer or station administrator identified a distinction. The concealment proceeded months subsequently. In October 1994, associate producer Vincent Reed, utilizing the printing equipment positioned in his workspace, created a manipulated receipt predated to April. The preliminary format discovered in his documents, integrated with the forensic evaluation of the output imperfections and the apparatus records, verified his immediate involvement. His non-operating period attendance in the facility and his contacts with the storage section on the night of the alleged retrieval finalized the representation of intentional construction. After the record-keeping protection was positioned, Thompson and Carter possessed opportunity to transfer the taken assets. During 1995 and 1996, their recorded transit to Chicago and Houston positioned them in the precise metropolitan areas where resale systems processed unverified stones. The gemstones discovered in 1998, aligned via identification codes to the taken set, verified this constituted the method selected to convert the merchandise. The conclusive component was monetary. Financial archives and acquisition forms confirmed the couple had completed purchases incompatible with their compensations. The occurrence aligned exactly with the duration of their transit and the distribution of the taken jewelry. Collectively, these components confirmed the progression of the offense. Crime throughout the transmission, falsification months subsequently to hide it, transfer of the gemstones via external commerce, and apparent prosperity via extravagance acquisitions. For the detectives, the restoration delivered the incident to a conclusive determination. Each element was validated by records, facility documentation, or monetary materials. No unexplained intervals existed, no theoretical assumptions. The crime was no longer an unaddressed enigma, yet a confirmed conspiracy implemented by two station workers and protected by the participation of a reliable associate producer. The progression of occurrences had been hidden for years, yet presently the sequence was finished, and the complete magnitude of the offense stood revealed. Before late October 1998, the compiled proof was displayed before a grand panel in Fulton County. Legal representatives presented the progression of crime, falsification, and benefit validated by materials, facility evaluation, and monetary archives. The panel issued accusations that ultimately delivered identities and allegations into public awareness. Derek Thompson confronted allegations of crime, deception, and collaboration, representing his immediate involvement in the jewelry replacement and his monetary advantage. Vincent Reed, the associate producer, was accused with falsification of institutional documentation, collaboration, and hindrance of legal proceedings based on his involvement in generating fraudulent record-keeping to shield the crime. Regarding Jasmine Carter, who had expired in 1997, her participation was recognized, yet her incident was officially terminated with the legal classification of exceptional resolution, a termination implemented when a perpetrator is recognized, yet cannot be charged due to expiration. The legal proceedings commenced the subsequent year. During early 1999, evidence and materials were presented before the tribunal. In methodical progression, panel members were presented. The initial manipulated receipt together with the preliminary format confiscated from Reed's documents. They received testimony from forensic professionals who clarified how detailed printing imperfections connected the forms to the apparatus in Reed's workspace. Entry records were displayed to confirm Thompson's and Carter's activities into the equipment storage section on the transmission date. Monetary professionals presented the distinction between the moderate compensations of both workers and their accelerated procurement of expensive merchandise. Ultimately, detectives from Chicago verified the retrieval of stones whose identification markers aligned with the absent components from the Atlanta set. The integration of proof provided minimal space for uncertainty. The panel considered the sequence of behaviors rather than separate occurrences. The operation depended on synchronized functions, the replacement of gemstones in 1994, the generation of defensive record-keeping months subsequently, and the progressive transformation of the jewelry into currency via resale systems beyond the jurisdiction. The tribunal acknowledged that without Reed's manipulated record-keeping, the offense might have been revealed earlier, and without Thompson and Carter's accessibility, the replacement could not have transpired. Before mid-1999, determinations were announced. Thompson was found guilty on allegations of crime and collaboration. Reed was found guilty of falsification, collaboration, and hindrance. Both individuals were assigned detention periods and were directed to provide compensation. The jewelry leasing firm pursued monetary restoration, and while coverage had addressed a segment of the initial deficit, the coverage provider was authorized the privilege to seek recovery from the found guilty individuals. This configuration guaranteed that legal accountability for the offense continued beyond detention duration and into extended monetary obligation. The incident possessed comprehensive consequences beyond the persons affected. For the station, the disclosures were harmful. The crime and concealment had occurred inside its personal installations under the direction of reliable personnel. When the information became accessible, concerns developed about the sufficiency of protection, the supervision of expensive merchandise, and the absence of monitoring in limited sections. The occurrence damaged the standing of a broadcast that had attempted to display sophistication and reliability. Administration implemented more rigorous procedures, compulsory evaluations, and digital monitoring platforms structured to prevent any comparable violation. For authorities, the incident became an instruction in determination and the significance of forensic information. The crime had originally been regarded as a flawless offense, one that provided no indication. The reality that it was eventually resolved depended on a minor yet revealing irregularity in an identification marker and a timestamp, an information that exclusively appeared throughout the conversion of historical documents. What appeared as a management revision became the foundation for revealing years of manipulation. When the determinations were announced, 5 years had elapsed since the morning transmission when the jewelry were initially presented on live broadcast. The account that had commenced with a perfect receipt concluded in a tribunal with guilty findings and compensation directives. The incident was not exclusively terminated, yet reclassified from unaddressed to addressed, an uncommon transformation in the documentation of significant asset offenses. The silent replacement of jewelry in 1994 had seemed to disappear into history, shielded by record-keeping that appeared unassailable. Nevertheless, it was exactly that record-keeping that revealed the operation. An individual irregularity revealed throughout a standard archives conversion disclosed the deception, revealed the conspirators, and converted an unaddressed crime into a warning account. The instruction was definitive. Even meticulously designed concealment accounts could deteriorate under the significance of one disregarded information, and what previously seemed undetectable could become certain proof years subsequently.